And I want to welcome everybody today to Motivated to Move. We are Vintage Fitness, and we are doing webinars every 6 weeks or so to share informational videos with you that you can apply in your daily life. None of this is ever a sales pitch. It's just information that we want you to take with you and apply in your daily life. So today the topic is a wonderful loaded one, motivation. And this topic was originally done in the pandemic a few years ago with Vintage Fitness. And it was beautiful because it was such a tough time to get started. And a lot of people who had found a rhythm with their regimes had to pivot and do something completely new. So I think it got people thinking about motivation in a new way. And we do have to do that from time to time to recognize why we're doing this. And we're going to get to all of that today. Can everybody hear me and see the presentation okay?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So my name is Lee Graham, and I'm the owner of Vintage Fitness. I'm joined today by Lorenzo and Artie, two valued members of the Vintage Fitness training team. And we're all going to talk to you about motivation and how you can create an action plan for yourself. But before we go into all that, I just want to give us a little recap on who and what Vintage Fitness is in case you're new to us. So we're older adult fitness specialists, and we work exclusively with seniors. We say we're 50 plus, but really most of our clients are 65 plus. And our oldest client at the moment is 95. And I think she's going to be on this call today. She's not already. We're results oriented, so clients achieve their health goals with us. And we like to emphasize that this can take time. So we build a relationship with you, and it's a long-term investment in your health, which becomes a lifestyle. And finally, we've been doing this for almost 20 years. So we're very much committed to the cause of energizing and transforming the lives of older adults. So this webinar is for you if you feel like sometimes you start and stop, you don't know if you're motivated enough, or you want to support someone who you like to get moving. And some of the topics that we're going to cover today are: what is motivation? Why are some people seemingly more motivated than others? Tips to get you motivated and create your own action plan. So first of all, what is motivation? I like this definition the best. Motivation is the reason or reasons one has for doing something, coupled with the level of desire to do it. I'm going to be asking questions throughout, as will Lorenzo and Artie, so you will have a chance to drop your own experiences in the chat, or you can put your hand up and we can ask you to unmute. So we do encourage participation today. And if you're watching this on a replay later, which you'll get a link to, feel free to ask us questions by email. So why are some people not motivated to exercise? Actually, let's go back and I can ask you in the chat, what are some barriers that you might have to exercise? Or what are some reasons you think stand in your way? Things that demotivate you to get started or feel like they stand between you and actually doing it. Does anybody want to share? Okay, we got a couple chats here. Fatigue. Oh, twice. Oh my gosh, 3 times. Feel tired. Yep. Pain. Too little time. Oh, these are good. Looks like you already read the notes. Chronic injuries. Yes. Yeah. So too tired, too much pain, too little time, and chronic injuries. Yeah. And these are very real barriers to exercise. Distractions. Distractions like what? Just life? Yeah. Yep. Time gets away from you. I think so many of us try to fit so many things in our day. And when we have an extra 15 minutes, 20 minutes, we're like, We'll just do this, that, and the other, throw in a load of laundry, empty the dishwasher, and then next thing you know, boom, your exercise time went away again. Okay, perfect. That's what you said, Tina. Exactly. Okay. So you guys got most of them, but some of the ones we wrote down are why are we not motivated? Exercise is unfamiliar. So for some people, they haven't been gym goers their whole lives. And so it's the unknown and it's unfamiliar. We're busy. We try to fit so much into our lives. And you kind of think when you retire, you're going to have way more time on your hands, but we've definitely found that to not be true. People are busy with their grandkids, with their travel plans, with, all kinds of amazing things. Sedentary lifestyles. Our modern day and age with technology has us sitting a lot, and we don't have physical activity built into the day as much. Fear of injury, using weights, fear of doing the wrong thing, especially if you've had injuries prior, and these are very real. Perception that sometimes exercise is just for weight loss or it's a luxury. Stress, pain, and sometimes a belief issue. Maybe this isn't for me, or I don't think I can do this. Depression is another one. And finally, the consequences aren't obvious right away if you aren't exercising. So sometimes they creep up on you over time, and then it becomes even harder to get started. Any questions so far? I love all the participation so far. Thank you. All right, some more traps, and these might sound familiar to you, and you can confess if they are. Before you get started on something, do you say, I just have to get my ducks in a row first? Anyone? Yeah. Just have to get my ducks in a row first. There's no great time to start. You're never going to be ready. For those of us that have kids, we know this to be true. The best time to start is now. And even if it's a really tough time, there's something you can do. The other one is the all or nothing mentality. And this is human nature. It doesn't feel like a baby step is going to move the needle enough to where we want to go. So it's tough to do a baby step. You just don't feel like it's enough. But what I want to tell you is the people that seem very motivated aren't necessarily feeling motivated all the time. And even the fitness professionals, we often don't want to work out. Isn't that right, guys? We build a habit and we stay focused on the reason why we're doing it. And there are many, many days when I do a workout where I really don't want to. So out of, let's say, 10 workouts, I might have one that's really feeling great. One or two that are pretty sad, and then maybe like a bunch in the middle that are sort of meh. And that's what can be expected. And we do find that with our clients. If they just show up on days when they don't feel like it, and it doesn't feel fun, you really don't want to do it, and you do it anyway, you're mastering the art of showing up, which is the key. All right. So the big secret is most people who are committed to fitness are not necessarily motivated, and commitment and inspiration create discipline habits. All right. And this is what I want to tell you. Do it messy. Do it meh. There are no ducks. Any questions so far? All right. You are in for a treat next. I am going to introduce someone wonderful. I promised you were going to meet Lorenzo, and he's going to talk with you next. Lorenzo is a registered massage therapist, personal trainer specialist, older adult specialist, and fascial stretch therapist whose focus is on older adults and the 2S LGBTQ plus community throughout the Greater Toronto area. They're the founder of Arts Fitness and passionate about treating fascia and scars to help heal invisible and visible wounds. Most recently, they spoke at the CanFit Pro Global Conference on applied principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Please welcome Lorenzo.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here. Yeah, I mean, Really great comments in the chat. It's motivation is really hard. And I like what you said. We don't always actually want to do our workout, and we don't always have the energy or the capacity to do the same workout as well as we did it the week before. And so in my notes, I spoke about, or I wrote resilience as a word. And it's not so much innate, I realized in preparing and reflecting on motivation. It's more that I just have this resiliency reserve that I'm really lucky to have, and I'll tell you why. So 25 years ago, give or take, I was trying to do the calculation. I did an ultrasound and it confirmed that I didn't inherit polycystic kidney disease like my brothers and my late father. And what that meant was that I started to see life as this amazing gift, and every day as an opportunity to appreciate and to have gratitude and to do better and to try to live better and longer and do as much as we can. And that can, looking back, and I realize that that can be also a bit of a burden and a lot of pressure. And in fact, explaining this to a friend at the time, they said, "Oh, wow, you must be meant for great things. What a gift!" And that can be a little bit. That's a lot of pressure, right? But overall, it ended up providing me with a lot of inspiration because I saw how my family members tackled their health conditions, and I saw how they rarely, if ever, complained. And I learned the importance of nutrition, and I learned the importance of physical movement just by watching them and seeing how they wanted to improve on things so that they could live better and that they could continue to be present for their family and friends. So I'm really blessed to have that resiliency reserve. That's what I'm calling it. That's the term that I've coined. And not and there isn't always that direct link. We're not always influenced by our environment. So there's not always a strong correlation. Sometimes we can have family members that are marathon runners, but we don't become marathon runners. But in my case, my family, it has been a huge influence. And I wrote immigrant experience and collective memory more along the lines of nutrition, because I started to think back on our ancestors and how they came to a country and brought over their agricultural practices and had to adapt those practices for a harsh Canadian climate. And I think that shows resiliency socially and geographically and culturally. And I think that's kind of a beautiful thing to reflect on too. And I think it resonates for me having grown up in Edmonton, Alberta, where the winters are very harsh. And yet I saw my family members and my aunts and uncles grow these incredible gardens. So shorter growing season, but still as vibrant and as fruitful. And so when you have that as your influence, like why wouldn't you want to eat the rainbow, and why wouldn't you want to cook meals at home and be inspired by that, especially in a world like, as we've mentioned, we're getting busier and busier even as we get older and things are changing and we don't have as much time. But we can kind of look back at that as a source of inspiration. Yeah, because not every week is as easy, and there are some days and weeks and even months where I'm not motivated, believe it or not. So yeah, so I lean on that for guidance. Other things I've noted here. So the SMART acronym is something that a lot of coaches learn in their curriculum, and it's about smart, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely goals. We use it for goal setting, but also in programming exercise. And when I was reflecting on motivation, I realized that I'm actually kind of influenced by, especially the ART, achievable, realistic, and time based, because as we change and our lives change and we evolve and we have different health conditions and we have different time barriers, it's important to remind ourselves that our movement habits will also change and our needs for movement and physical activity will change. And so even though I'm on the younger end of the spectrum in terms of who we work with. Um, just in the last year alone, my exercise needs have completely changed. So as I work as a mobile trainer and get to work with wonderful vintage fitness clients around the city, um, I'm more physically active. And as I work as a massage therapist, I'm using my arms and my whole body for really long periods of time. And so doing, let's say, a powerlifting workout or weightlifting 3 or 4 or 5 times a week is not realistic. So these days, I only do one workout a week. And so it feels weird sometimes um, because it's like I would compare myself to what I used to do. And that can sometimes involve shame or guilt. I'm not doing enough. I'm doing 50%, or I'm doing a quarter of the frequency that I used to do. But then I think of that acronym and I remind myself that it's not realistic anymore, and that's okay. And um, and I also need different modalities now. So I need to do more flexibility work and more mobility work and more yoga. And I find that really enjoyable, and it grounds me and it helps me to kind of stabilize my nervous system from all of the people centered work. And in fact, I feel like I've been able to maintain my fitness level even better now as a result, because I've adapted and I've realized that you have to be gentle and compassionate with yourself as you evolve and as your life evolves, your needs evolve. Other than that, little things that motivate me are environment, and I'll talk about that later because it's also something that motivates clients. If you see it, you'll do it. If things are tucked away in the closet, probably, we already talked about all the barriers, right? We probably aren't going to make the effort to go and take everything out and set it up. So having like a space is important because I kind of see it, and it reminds me at the end of the day that instead of watching TV, I'm probably gonna do some stretching and some rolling, and I'll even show you. I have it out just like our clients have their little space set up. I have my weights and my mat, and it's a reminder. And I rarely roll it and put it away, right? And I'll mention I live in a small studio apartment, so I think if I can do it, anybody can do it. Everybody has lots. Most people have more room than I do. And yeah, in general, I'm much more achievement based. I know a lot of the people that we work with, they there's a huge aspect of socialization with exercise. And that can be motivating to be able to converse with someone and share ideas and grow in that way. I love the reward. I love the feeling of lifting a little more than I did, last month, the adrenaline rush. But however, nonetheless, that does change depending on what I'm doing. So when it comes to yoga, I love doing it. I love the feeling of being in a class with other people, breathing and slowing down, and that collective feeling is quite amazing. So it can be both, but that's just in general what um, I'm thinking in terms of, and maybe we'll talk about in terms of theories. People are generally either motivated by achievement or they're motivated by affiliation. So wanting that kind of collective dynamic and social experience with their exercise. So we can move ahead. So so the clients that I work with, they're motivated by many different things. And in general, I find that all of the clients that I work with, they have a desire to improve their health span, which means they want to live as many years as possible with fewer health conditions, or being able to manage and mitigate those health conditions as best as possible. And I wrote being with and being there for family and friends because almost all of my clients, again, love to spend time with their family and friends, and they want to be able to continue doing the activities that they've always been doing and that they enjoy. And that with it's nuanced. I won't share too much about it, but as we get older, the dynamic in our relationships change, and the dynamic between a parent and a child changes. So it evolves from one of dependency to one of human interacting with human. And it's probably its own presentation and topic. It's complex, but I think people want to be able to enjoy that evolution and have the time and energy to do that. And if you're mitigating a lot of health conditions, you're probably going to have a bigger challenge, right? And those roles might get reversed quicker, right? Which is all fine and worthwhile, but it's just a barrier. It's another barrier, right? So yeah, more on that at some point in the future. So affiliation, as I mentioned, I find that the older adults that I work with, socialization is a huge part of exercise. And of course, now we're learning that it also is beneficial for slowing down the onset of conditions like dementia or Alzheimer's. And there's a huge impact on mental health as well, as we saw during the pandemic, and we really realized the need for socialization. So exercise provides that, and with all of its many benefits, but it's also an opportunity to share ideas and to have a soundboard for all these changes that older adults are going through, like downsizing or dealing with a new problem or dealing with loss of loved ones. And so I think it's a very beautiful kind of organic relationship where it's not just about physical fitness. So there's this other component of it, which is wonderful in my opinion. So next up, so celebrating the little things, celebrating everything. So as another thing I've noticed is, and as we get older, and someone mentioned in the comments that there's less reward. There's also less validation as we get older. When we're younger and we're working on through school or our careers, there's all these opportunities for recognition, for rewards. We take courses, classes, we play sports, right? We get recognized, honored. As we get older, there's perhaps less of that. And so exercise provides this reward. And I say celebrate the little things because there's all these things that happen along the way towards our bigger goals. And I think it's worthwhile to celebrate them because it brings joy, right? So maybe, you were able to walk up and down the stairs without using the handrail. That's something to celebrate. Or you're able to keep up with your neighbor on a walk and not be exhausted. That's something to celebrate. That's another day that you are able to move forward and do that. So that's kind of, I think, something that helps my clients stay motivated, but something that I also work on to incorporate into the training that we do. And then as similar to how I'm influenced by seeing the equipment and the environment around me. My clients, without me telling them this, they've told me they want to. They're inspired when they see their equipment, and I guess this is kind of like the idea of habit stacking, where you put a band here, and then when you go to the office, you have the band, and then you remember to do the exercise to improve your posture or relax your shoulders. And so I've had clients buy multiple sets of their resistance band so that they can have one in each room. And so they're able to remember, I'm going to do that exercise when I'm cooking, and I'm going to do that exercise when I'm at my desk. So I think that's really cool because it's like they came up with that themselves without me imposing it. So like, great, affiliation-based exercise where you can and how you can. So so I had the opportunity to interview a client to dig a little deeper on motivation, and this is what they told me. So they're motivated by the desire to prevent some genetic diseases that run in their family. So one is Alzheimer's. And so as we've mentioned before, we know there is a correlation between physical fitness and slowing down the onset of Alzheimer's specifically. for this um, for this client in their 80s, they they want to be able to avoid obesity or not increase their weight, and they want to be able to keep up with their friends. So there's a little bit of a competitive streak, which I liked, and I learned that just by, again, it's such an amazing opportunity to reflect on motivation because things come up that we don't even necessarily like think about. And so they kind of go from our subconscious to our conscious. And I think that's great because then you can kind of dig a little deeper and use them to your advantage. I think sometimes it's frowned upon to like or just we're dissuaded from competing with others as a source of motivation. But why not? If you're not harming yourself or you're not harming anyone, hey, if you see your neighbor doing it and you're like, well, I want to be able to also walk and be mobile in my 90s, why not? And in fact, this client in particular mentioned that when they travel down south, they notice people moving in later stages of life, and they notice that less here in Canada, in Toronto specifically. And I thought that was also interesting because I mean I could see that. You see a lot of people that are mobile and walking about in their 60s and 70s, but maybe not in their 90s. And so I thought that was an interesting thing to highlight. I thought, okay, yeah, that there's something to be said by that. And maybe we can be, obviously, we can't help certain health conditions and we can't help those obstacles that come up, but on an emotional and social level, if it helps with motivation to keep moving, why not? If it's possible, why not? Yeah, and they also want to be able to, of course, alongside that is being independent, and they also surprised me by saying that they want to be able to use the exercises and practice exercises that we do together on their own, and they do so every Sunday, and I didn't even know that. So that warmed my heart, but I also thought, okay, exercise motivates or inspires exercise. So it's win-win-win. I mean, hey, why not? So yeah, and then in terms of barriers, we talked a lot about barriers, but sometimes getting up early or getting up at all maybe is a barrier, and getting dressed to exercise is a barrier. And I thought about it a little bit after we put this slide together, but it, some of my clients actually like dressing up, and I think having to wear clothes that are more appropriate for working out could be its own barrier, and that's completely fair. And some of my clients work out in their jewelry, and I think it's lovely because why not? I mean, we got to do it somehow. So if it's safe, why not? But yeah, I don't like. I'm not the biggest morning person either. I rather be under the blankets and cozy for as long as possible. And last thing I'll say is going back to the idea of habit stacking, like I talked about having the bands in different places of your house so you'll know you use them or whatever equipment it is you like to use. I did have a client once that would put her tracksuit on as soon as she got up. It was the first thing she did. And that would remind her to do her walk first thing. And then when she would get home, she would have weights in her living room, so she would do her strength workout. And I thought, hey, I mean, if that works, then why not? Like, it's creating an amazing behavior. And again, it's a win-win situation. So yeah, lots of opportunities there. So we'll go back to Lee, who's going to introduce our next speaker.
Thank you so much, Lorenzo. Oh, let's hear it for Lorenzo, everybody. Okay, that was really inspiring. I just have a couple questions I want to ask you all based on that talk. And I'm wondering, first of all, I'll give you an easy one. Do you feel that you are more affiliation based in your motivation or achievement based in your motivation? And you can drop your answer in the chat. So affiliation based is, do you like working out with other people? Is that yeah, you got it. Okay. Karen says affiliation. There's no right or wrong answer, of course. Achievement. Yes, Yvette. Achievement for Gina. And you could be a combination. I think I'm a combination. I definitely think it's a win when I can work out with my buddies. It's like killing two birds with one stone. It's the best. Okay, Duncan or Anne, affiliation and achievement. Sharon, achievement. Amazing. See, it just gives you food for thought, right? Like sometimes we don't think about these things and we need to build a plan that really works for our motivation style. Thank you for sharing, everyone. The other thing I was going to ask is we keep reiterating this idea of celebrating the little wins. Does anybody use that technique to motivate themselves further? And what would be an example of something that you celebrate? It could be something really small, like walking an extra block today, or taking the stairs instead of the elevator. So first of all, do you use the celebrate the wins technique? And I don't mean like celebrating with like a burger or an ice cream cone or something. I mean like some kind of deep, innate thank you to yourself. And if not, I'd like you to consider adding it in because it's very special. The act of doing this thing every time is an act of self-love, and the reinforcement helps you get back to it again. Okay, I got one from Yvette. I celebrate my clothes fitting better. Beautiful. Karen, yes, especially when pain's involved. So you celebrate the fact that you're feeling a little bit better, Karen? That's amazing. That's a huge motivator to keep moving again, right? Oh, okay. I love this. I have some affirmations. I say, yay, me. Heck yeah. Duncan and Anne say, yes, improvement in my walking, which is huge. So these are, things that we can look at every day and say, hey, I'm not running a marathon, but I'm feeling amazing for having done this mentally and physically. So that's amazing. And then I'm hoping that you guys are starting to think about what your deeper why is based on some of Lorenzo's examples. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce another wonderful trainer of Vintage Fitness, RT. RT has a master's degree in physiotherapy. She's worked for 13 years as a physiotherapy assistant and as a senior physiotherapist. We're very blessed to have RT on the team. She has worked extensively with stroke clients and is a specialist with extensive knowledge of treatment techniques for a wide range of conditions, including neurological, musculoskeletal, cardio, sports injuries, and rehabilitation. Her experience also includes pediatric health issues, community health rehabilitation, and dealing with client pain. And some of you can relate to that. Through her ability to listen attentively and effectively, and because of her empathic approach, Artie is able to design training programs that achieve client goals safely and effectively. She is truly a caring and wonderful trainer. Please welcome Artie.
Thanks, Lee. Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. And Lorenzo, that was a great introduction and motivation, what you put through. So today we'll be talking about the same motivation as so what I think, according to me, motivation is just get up and go and get life. So I believe that exercise should be a routine to life. It just should be a food for thought. Just like you eat food, you do other things, and it should be a routine, just like your lifestyle. So some modifications to your life would cause a great benefit to you. And that's where the motivation comes from, to me and to my family. So my biggest motivation is, yes, my family and my clients. My work is my biggest motivation because when you see the results and when you see the smile on your face, it's impeccable. You can't even explain. It's not even expressed in words. And that's where the, that rush, the adrenaline rush Lorenzo was speaking about, that purpose of life, you get it through. And that's the biggest motivation for me. So moving on, we'll talk about what is importance of exercise. So many people, they're not even aware that what exercise can do. Okay. Is it better?
Yes.
Okay.
We want to see you.
All right. Okay, sorry about that. And so, yes, so as I was saying, that many people they don't even know, and it's important to make them aware of what exercise can do, what achievements you can achieve, and what goals you're putting forth in order to live a healthy lifestyle, and how you need to step up those goals and work through it day to day. And it's just not one day or 2 times a week, as the protocol says, or what the trainer or the physiotherapist says, but it's everyday work. It's a work that you have to put through every day, every time, every hour of the day, working towards your goal, be it nutrition, be it exercise, mental health. Yes, mental health also is a great impact on your exercise. That's where motivation comes from, because your mental health needs to be in line. And you also need to address the situation, like uh, why you're not able to get motivation, why you don't have that priority set to exercise in the daily life, or why do you don't want to get up from the bed? You feel depressed, you feel lethargic, why do you feel so lazy? And you need to ask yourself that why is this happening, or why this is not working out.
Oh, I see one
Moving
message
on.
in the chat here. Thank you, Artie. Just from Isabel. I found that even though I'm considerably older, I can still heal and improve my body. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, moving on.
So that's where the why comes from. So now there are certain barriers which could be inside you, that's intrinsic, or could be outside. And that's the reason to your why. Intrinsic could be risk of falls because of the body weight, with a less of balance. If you have body image, like you feel, oh, I'm not good to work out, my body is, it's overweight and I don't feel like moving, you feel heavy, you don't have any interest, plus you don't know how to be going forth, or what exercises to be done at the right time, and what exercises to be done in the right form and in a right dosage. Of course, the skills matter, like which exercise to be done where and how, and knowledge. Sometimes people have self-doubt, even though they have knowledge, even though they are, they have exposure. Nowadays, exposure is not a small thing. It's everywhere. Exercises, they're everywhere, is thinking about fitness and body image all over social media and talk of the word in the town. And time management, that's foremost thing, that you need to manage your time. You need to remove the time from your busy life, even though you're working. I have clients who work, but they still manage to exercise at the end of the day or in the morning. Extrinsic, which is outside factors around us, that could be, yes, our work schedules. Some have limitation of funds, so they can't afford it. Transportation, some of the clients are not able to go to clinics or go to gyms to exercise, or go, for any matter, hospitals, anywhere. Wheelchair accessibility, yes, some of the places they don't have proper access, no ramps being built, keeping in mind the wheelchair or any supporting aids. Lack of support, some of the families or friends, they give you biggest support. So people around us, most of them, not everyone has their own support. And some of the people, as Lee talked about affiliation, so some of the people, they feel like, oh, we should be having a partner. Maybe that gives them motivation. And as in toilet facilities in various situations, or various facilities, and accessibility, that's what matters. Those are some of the factors which we have come upon. And we also have to address that why and how these barriers to be resolved, and what can we do about it. So there are certain methods to how to motivate, and how I motivate my clients. We do education. So we have to educate them, or we have to gain education as how to motivate, how to keep your mental health in a right manner, and keep on doing it, motivating yourself, find that purpose, of life, how to progress from one exercise to another, or how to progress from the same exercise with different weights and different varieties of props can be used. And basically, that should be goal oriented. So you should so what in a physiotherapy we have been taught that the goals are not just short term, not just once. They can be changed. They can start from any day. So change can happen from any day. If one day, there are certain clients who get up one day and they say, you know what, this is what I want to do. Now this is also what I want to do. So gradually you know yourself, and we as trainers also know better with days and with months as we progress. We know that these are their goals and how they're working towards it. So it requires a team to progress. And what activity, that what matters, that what activity are you doing, the certain activity to achieve a goal, because you would be doing certain exercise and that wouldn't be your goal, that wouldn't work towards your goal. So the stepping stone has to be acknowledged well, that yes, this is the exercise where we have to work upon and reach to a certain goal. And yes, cost, I know that's a biggest thing, but it's not that costly. It's affordable. Exercise equipments, which are much necessary, because we can't be doing certain weights, and some of the people are not that strong enough that gym equipments are equally compatible with your capacity, because their capacity, their body power, I would say, or muscle endurance, these parameters which we look upon to serve, to give any exercise or prescribe any exercise, where these don't matter. So the gym equipments, are they strong enough for them, or that they demotivates? At times that could be a barrier. The gym is itself is a barrier. Oh, I wouldn't be able to do that much weights. It's too much for me. So yes, there are certain props, I would say, or certain equipments like bands and balls, which make your exercise more fun and easier and compatible with your capacity, like what level of fitness you are in. And there are certain comorbidities, of course, hypertension, blood pressure, and lipidemia. There are so many other factors like kidney diseases. There are different comorbidities with different people that can also be barriers. So we need to work upon, we talk with the particular professional and how used to, inculcate in the progress. And to facilitate empowerment, of course, one has to have autonomy to choose whether they want to continue with this exercise or not. If not, then of course the motivation comes from the trainer. Yes, this is because it's important to you, you need to do it. But yes, the will should be coming from inside. So if you're not empowering yourself, you don't know, yes, I can do it, the willpower, that's the biggest motivation. So that's how you can motivate yourself. You need to keep on saying yourself that you're the best and you can do it. And of course, use of exercise handouts or any portal which can be used to motivate you, to give you some guidance, and to join some classes where we have community-based, different types, different classes, different fitness, and to promote socialization, because you meet like-minded people, you socialize with them, you exchange ideas with the same motivation, with the same mindset, and then you get motivated. Oh, you know what? This neighbor of mine or this friend of mine is doing way better than me. Or if the person can do it of same age, then even I can do it.
Yeah, I think it's helpful to recognize that a lot of us face the same barriers. And sometimes we think there's something wrong with us if we have all these reasons. But that once already goes through them all and says, okay, this is a barrier and this is how to overcome it. It's like, oh, I have ways, I have tools. So thank you.
All right, here we are. Let's talk about, I would like to present one of my oldest and loveliest client of mine, Isabel Walker. She is 95, and she is a vibrant personality. And she is a person I get inspired from. She is the biggest inspiration, I would say, with a good intellect, with a good sense of humor, keeping her body going. She has never missed a session, I would say, apart from any other medical, emergencies, and she's surrounded by biggest supporter of their family and friends. But she has this one thing she shared with me long back, that her motivation comes from herself and her family. So she has this rule that she talks to her friend every day, in just even for 5 minutes, to make sure that she is supported well and her friend is supported well. So it's a kind of a communication and a motivation that they are giving through each other, even just by a phone call daily. And that's amazing. That's a beautiful thing I could ever hear from a person. She's dedicated, of course. She sticks to her routine and she celebrates life. She loves cooking, she loves baking and feeding people. And that's why she feeds me as well.
That's amazing.
I think we have her.
Yeah, she's here, I think, today,
Yes.
right, Isabel? Amazing. 95.
Oh, she's on mute.
Oh, amazing.
Isabel, you're on mute.
Oh, can you hear me now?
There
Yes,
she is. Hi.
I just wanted to say that Artie has convinced me that I can go further every day, because she shows me each day what improvement I have made. It might be only a couple of minutes here and a couple of minutes there, but she has proven to me that I can continue to improve, and that I couldn't carry on with my most favorite activities a year ago, and now I do almost everything within reason. And I wouldn't have believed this a year ago, but she is so friendly and lively and encouraging and understanding. It's a beautiful personal relationship as well as a professional relationship. So I feel lucky to have found her.
Oh, and it sounds like she feels lucky to have found you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I got some messages in the chat, Isabel, saying you are so inspirational.
Well, I'm so happy. It's changed my life.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. That was lovely.
Thank you.
Let me also speak one of my other client, with their permission. He is, I think, not here with us today, but his name is Mohinder Gupta, and he is also in his 70s. His biggest motivation is to just be healthy in life. That's his biggest motivation. And the biggest, I would say, supporter and a cheerleader is his wife. And they both make a great team. They both work professionally as well as personally. They own a business, and now they are retired and focusing all their time to health. That's a beautiful thing, I would say, and that's wonderful that they are dedicating their life to their health and their way of life, eating healthy and living healthy and a happy life. And they're committed to wellness, I would say.
Beautiful. Okay, well, thank you so much, Artie, for sharing those case studies. Are we inspired or what? I'm getting all these messages in the chat saying, what an amazing testimonial, impressive testimonial. That's very inspirational. And I think, we're starting to recognize what some of the deeper whys feel like when we hear these stories, and our hearts are warmed by what is motivating these guys to keep going and going, right? And so I'm just going to circle back a little bit to the habit forming side of things. And then we're going to actually do a little exercise where you start to think about what your deeper why is, and then you can hopefully share it with us. And if not live here today in the chat, then you can hopefully, if you're a Vintage Fitness client, share it with your trainer in your next session. And then we can just make sure that your plan is geared towards your style and to the values that you hold dear. So Lorenzo was mentioning about habit stacking, and I read this wonderful book called Atomic Habits. And if you guys haven't read it and you need a kick in the butt, Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's amazing. It's actually gotten people started that I would never think would get started and committed to an exercise regime. And so I'm just going to share a couple of thoughts from that book today with you. One of them is playing the long game. So we referred to this already. We can get bored by doing the same things every day. And the greatest threat to success is not failure, but boredom. So James Clear says the only way to become excellent is to be endlessly fascinated by doing the same thing over and over. However, you can get yourself to do that, whether it's celebrating the small wins, noticing how you feel after. And I know a couple of our clients said that, less pain, moving better, noticing how you feel if you don't, mentally and physically. Another great one is the Goldilocks rule. So the Goldilocks rule that he says is, it states that humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities. So not too hard, not too easy, but just right. So choosing a challenge of just manageable difficulty. And of course, as trainers, especially with the older adult population, we're always helping you find where that spot is. And once it gets easy, we help you find the next level. So you're always progressing further and further towards your goals. That's why the baby steps are monumental in the end. You just have to start somewhere, right? And Lorenzo did touch on this before, but make it easier to achieve the goal. So if you want to become a meditator and meditate 20 minutes a day, start with 1 minute. The 2-minute rule, it encourages you to create a gateway habit or a micro habit that gets you going in the direction. So Lorenzo used the example of putting on your tracksuit in the morning, or you can lay it out at night. Just lacing up your shoes, just unrolling your yoga mat. And then once you get started, we know it's much easier to continue. All right. And then finally, when you get bored or impatient waiting for results, because you probably will, focus again on those things that I just mentioned. And remember that changes that seem small and unimportant at first will compound into remarkable results if you're willing to stick with them for years. And we had the wonderful example of Isabel here today at 95 years old, proving this. All right. So here is a summary of some of the ways that you can achieve motivation. We are breaking it down for you step by step. So address those roadblocks and barriers. Find your deep why. Assess your future goals over and over. The SMART goals can change. Every workout matters. It's a drop in the bucket. Create those non-negotiable habits. Lean on support, as Mohinder does. The focus is not on whether you feel motivated, but rather on the commitment itself. It's an exercise in self-care. And remembering that you're not doing this because you should, because that's not very motivating for me. I don't know about you, but because you deserve it. Okay. And next, I'm hoping we can do a little bit of sharing in the chat if you're feeling bold today. So hopefully with all these examples, you've had a chance to think about your deeper why. Why are you doing this? Or if you're not doing it yet, why do you think it's worth it for you to get started? So I would encourage you to just drop a word or two in the chat and let me know what you think your reason for starting to move is, and what could probably get you up every day, or what currently gets you up every day doing it, or at least every week. Anybody who wants to share in the chat? The other thing you can do is write it down and put it somewhere prominent so that you can peek at it if you don't want to share. And also, I encourage you to share with your trainer. Okay, the deeper why is decreasing meds. That's an amazing goal. And exercise, as we know, really is going to help you in a lot of different ways. Healthy longevity. Yes, yes, yes. That's a big one for me already. And I know we can start at any stage of the game. I want my children and grandchildren to be proud of me and learn from me how to age well. Oh, that's a good one. Setting a good example for the younger generation, very similar to the one before. And, a lot of our clients are very motivated by being able to identify with, play with, get involved with their grandkids' lives, physically and also to be a role model for them. Tina says less pain and more flexibility. And these are very motivating. And the cool thing is you can notice some of these things right away. Gina says to regain and preserve my brain and body health as best as I can. Man, I'm getting inspired. And Irene says sustainability for daily tasks. This is amazing, you guys. Flexibility. Oh, good one, Shelley. Yeah, and I find that sometimes if we're rigid in body, we can be rigid in mind. So I like working on my physical flexibility so I can stay a little more flexible in life too. Okay, anybody else want to share? Those are beautiful. And I love that you've marked those things because now you can go ahead and make sure that your plan is associated with it. So that's the next thing. Make an exercise plan based on what motivates you. Don't forget to celebrate your wins, big and small. And of course, share with your trainer. Or if you don't have one yet, you know where to find us. And right now we have a little bit of time for questions. Ooh, it's 2:00 right on the button. And if you have any questions, we'd love to hear them right now for any of the speakers today, Lorenzo or Artie, or any comments, or you can even drop in the chat if there was something that resonated with you today in terms of what you want to move forward with. Cool. How to find a trainer. Oh, yeah. See that website below, vintagefitness.ca, and the phone number's right there. We do have trainers in the East GTA. We have trainers all across the Greater Toronto area, from Scarborough to Burlington up to Aurora. And if you call the number below, you'll get our wonderful Sid, who is our client care manager. And he will talk to you about all your needs and see who would be a good fit for you. I love that. That means you're motivated. Any other questions or comments at this time? Okay, well, we just want to say thank you so much for showing up today. It was so fun to have you all here. We got a big thank you to Isabel, Lorenzo, Artie, and Lee. Oh, thank you so much. And we hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you.